All right, let's get to our new segment, Exfinity 10G fan questions. This is something that we'll be doing the rest of the season. We got fans to submit questions from our whole little college countdown set area. So I guess let's check out what our first one is.
All right.
Hi, I'm Madison. I'm Avery. I'm Annabelle. We're all from Minnesota, and we have a question for Todd. What did you think of Madison?
Well, I like Madison a lot. It's a fun town. It's a great college town. Doing a night game there, Halloween weekend was awesome. But probably my favorite part about going to Madison is I get to go to Mickey's Dairy Bar, which is a restaurant right across the street. And this right here is the Scrambler, which is my go-to dish. And I got to say, the proudest thing for me was my sidekick, Noah Eagle, got a Scrambler and went after it and finished it the same way I finished mine. So I was very impressed by that. Now, he went after it more meticulously than I did. He had a fork and knife. He was cutting pieces off of it with a knife. I just kind of rip it apart and eat it. But yeah, you did a good job on that Scrambler. And is that place awesome or what?
No, that place was, I think I don't know. It's almost impossible for me to say this, but I actually think you might have undersold how good it was. It's delivered in every way. I was texting another broadcaster, the great Chris Foster's. He's a Wisconsin guy, and he was asking, hey, where'd you go to dinner? Where'd you go to eat? And I said, we went to Mickey's, and boy, did they deliver. And he goes, wait, they deliver? This is a revelation. And I'm like, no, like it delivered and how good it was. It was so good it delivered. That place was awesome. I will have to say that if we are going back in a couple of weeks, which it sounds like there's a good chance we are, I feel like I'm going to have to join you in getting a milkshake next time we go.
Oh, yeah. Very strong. Very, very strong. Although the milkshake on top of the Scrambler put me into a food coma for the rest of the day. I didn't eat again until the next day. We went there at like noon, and I didn't eat till the next day. Although my next meal was liver and onions from Mickey's, and LD actually went over and got it on a plate for me and brought it back to the crew meeting. So, I love it.
Yeah,
it seems like everything other than the pancakes and French toast there, and I guess this is just because it's Wisconsin, everything is covered in cheddar cheese too. Yeah. Right. Just everything.
Well, even Tyler Freed got the French toast, and I think that he thought that wait, is it eggs? I don't know. I wasn't sure what he was talking about, but it looked like he enjoyed it too. He cleaned his own plate. And one other thing I will just say about the question was Minnesota. I had to get that out there. So, no, I'm excited because I've got some other recommendations for next time I'm in Madison. So
beautiful.
All I know is that I will always go back to Mickey's as much as possible. All right, let's get to question number 2.
My name is Mackenzie, and I'm from Cuba City, Wisconsin. And my question for Noah is, how was your first jump around experience?
Jump around. So I said it last week. I needed to make sure I had the right shoes. I didn't necessarily go for the most comfortable footwear, but I did double up on my socks, and that allowed some extra cushion for whatever was happening under my feet. And what was happening under my feet was literal shaking of the ground and literal shaking of the press box and our broadcast booth. I think it was one of the cooler experiences for sure. I'd say that Tyler certainly enjoyed it a lot more than I did next to me. I think that
my spotter Ryan enjoed it too.
I was about to shout out Ryan. So Ryan was all the way. There's a video that Shane, who sets up our whole booth, took behind us. I showed it to you after the game, but you watch the video. It's me, Tyler, you, Ryan, in succession. And Tyler and Ryan are doing ungodly, unholy things to their body as jump around is happening. It was awesome, though. I will say, again, if we go back in a couple weeks, maybe I'll get a little more into it this time.
Yeah, it was cool. Very cool.
It's a fun one. All right, we got third and final question. What do we got?
Hi, I'm Adam Disler from Forest Lake, Minnesota. My question for you guys is, who's going to win the Big Ten West?
Todd, you want to start?
Well, whoever can score some points, that to me is what it's going to come down to. Who can find a way to score? What is it? 4 teams tied for first place right now.
4 teams in first, then Northwestern is only a game back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 4 teams tied. They all play good defense. They're all not very great on offense, obviously. I mean, I give the edge to Iowa. I give the edge to Iowa, particularly since we don't know about Braylon Allen and his injury. And now, I mean, I think Wisconsin, I would have maybe given them the edge, but because I think they potentially can score more and be better on offense than Iowa right now. But without Braylon Allen and without really knowing when he'll be 100%, I think Iowa has the upper hand.
So I tend to agree. Now, I'm just trying to look at the remaining schedules for all these teams. And to me, it really depends on a couple of matchups. Because the only other team that, if Braylon Allen is not going to be good to go for the rest of the year, I think I think Wisconsin is probably, they take a back seat. I just think that they need him to carve up yards. They need him to set up their play action. They need him to do a lot of what they want to do offensively. And
right.
Or that Phil Longo would tell you the same thing. I'm sure that Luke Fickell would tell you the same thing. I think that Wisconsin's defense, as we saw last week, is excellent. And if he is healthy, they're very much right there in the mix. But you've got Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Minnesota all here tied. And I'm looking at the remaining schedule for Minnesota, and it sounds crazy given the way they started the season. But we just said Jordan Newman just started at running back and ran for over 200 yards against a Michigan State defense that really isn't that bad.
Right.
Scott Allen played well, that's coached well by Scotty Hazelton. And these last 4 games, 3 of them, you could absolutely tell me they're going to win. They've got Illinois at home this week. That's a winnable game for Minnesota.
Yeah.
If they run the football effectively, if they play defense. They've got Purdue next week. Is it next week? Yes, next week. So you've got Purdue next week. It's on the road, sure, but Purdue has not played this year. They've struggled. Then you've got Ohio State and Columbus. That's going to be a very difficult game to win. But you finish off at home against Wisconsin. And again, it hinges on what if Tanner Mordecai is somehow back by then, if Braylon Allen's going to be healthy by then. What does everybody look like at that point? If Minnesota goes 3-1, now you're just relying on what is Iowa going to do down the stretch this year. And Iowa has Northwestern this week. And then you've got Rutgers, which, again, is not an easy out. You've got Illinois, who's not going to be an easy out. And then you go on the road to finish the year at Nebraska, which I don't even care if Nebraska wasn't good. That's not an easy place to play. They draw, they fill out every single game. And so I think the dark horse team is probably Minnesota. I agree with you that Iowa should be in the driver's seat right now. They're the best team probably, especially defensively. But I'd say Minnesota would be my next choice.
And the interesting thing about Minnesota, and this is something that ever since media days, back in the summer in Indianapolis, that they've been addressing and PJ Fleck's been talking about for the last few years, and they've had great success. But the last couple of years, they've started out great and then kind of faltered down the stretch. They didn't play their best football at the end. And this year is different. They did not start out great. They had a lot of new pieces and building a new chemistry on their team and new quarterback and new running backs and all that. And maybe if they are starting to peak and play better football down the stretch, it could be a completely different season. And Minnesota might be the team that ends up coming away with it and, making their way to Indianapolis. I mean, it's hard to say. And really, whoever gets there is going to have their hands full with whoever it is between Ohio State and Michigan, in all likelihood. But right now, it could be anybody.
And Matt Lamb, our producer, did want to remind that Minnesota has the tiebreakers if they beat Wisconsin, because they would already have beaten Iowa in that bizarre Cooper DeJean fair catch, no fair.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So as a result, they do put themselves in decent position overall.